Quinshon Judkins looked unbelievable in his second NFL start. We'll discuss his dynasty value next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. So stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda Move and Be Moved. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Michael Fabiano. And on today's show, we're taking a look at some of the biggest winners and losers from week 3 of the NFL season. And Fabs, I want to start with some rookie running backs because for the most part, pretty good day for the rookie runners. Let's start with Quinshon Judkins, 18 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. The only other player to get a carry in this game was Dylan Sampson, who had 1 carry for 2 yards. I thought Judkins looked unbelievable on Sunday.
And this was against Green Bay.
I know.
I mean, their defense is good. Boy, Cleveland's defense is phenomenal, at least at home too. But this is why I took Judkins like everywhere. I took the discount everywhere. You know, people, oh, he's not going to play this season and blah, 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 blah. You got to be kidding me. Like, they drafted him at the top of the second round for a reason. They don't have a running back. Nick Chubb was gone. And I get it. The off-field stuff scares people away. But now I haven't heard anything about the NFL and their investigation into Judkins. And dare I say that right now he's a must start, and he's a better start than Ashton Genty, which we're going to get to. But Judkins is a guy, I mean, he averaged over 5 yards a carry in that game. And again, I didn't like him. I started him in a couple of leagues where I kind of needed to, but I didn't really love the matchup. And he played 36 snaps. He had 18 carries. He had a catch out of the backfield. This dude is RB2, set it and forget it for the rest of the season until there is potentially a suspension that is levied by the NFL. And maybe there won't be. But the Browns are a perfect fit for Judkins. Why? Play good defense and time of possession. They want to run the ball. They're not going to throw it all over the lot. This is not the Air Coryell Chargers of the 80s. So, and if you don't know who Don Coryell is, go and check it out. But this is the perfect situation for Judkins. And now, after 2 games, and he was good in the first game too. I mean, he was just very limited because he hadn't practiced or played because of the whole off-field stuff. I think he's that dude, and I'm going to start him every week moving forward unless he gets suspended or the numbers start to show me that maybe I need to think about him as not a must-start player. At worst right now, Marcus, he's a flex starter. At worst. And they're in Detroit coming up next week. I'm starting him.
So, 2 games. He's averaging 5.5 yards a carry against Baltimore and Green Bay. We'll see what Baltimore's defense looks like tonight against Detroit. Maybe they'll give us a better idea. They're going to be without multiple starters, but the Browns were without multiple starters on the offensive line. They really have no passing game to speak of outside of Harold Fannin on some underneath targets. And yet Quinshon keeps producing. And one of the things that we were maybe a little bit concerned about this offseason is, hey, when you draft a running back in round 2 and you draft one in round 4, is this going to be, you know, some kind of committee where it's 60-40 or 65-35? Nope, it's 18 carries to 1. And it's so clear that they think Quinshon Judkins is the better player. And they're right. He's just a great fit in the Kevin Stefanski offense. So my question for you is, Quinshon Judkins RB20 in the latest batch of Dynasty ADP, where should he be valued? Should he be in the top 12 range, like in the Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, Travion Henderson range?
Yes, he should be in the top 15. There's no question about that. I've always liked the talent, and I loved the fit. Like, honestly, and I get it. You know, the off-field stuff was what it was. If there was no situation that happened off the field, and for all intents and purposes, didn't happen because there's no charges anymore. You know, again, the NFL will do their investigation. We would love Judkins. We would have loved him. I remember after he got picked, I'm like, well, I'm surprised they didn't take Henderson, but okay. one of the two best fits for a running back. The other one being Genty. I've always, when I tell you between redraft and dynasty, I think I have Judkins in like almost every league. I am not kidding you. I have him in so many leagues, and he was a backup, drafted as a backup because of the questions. Now he's in my starting lineup, and he's going to stay there.
Let's talk about a couple other running backs real quick. Omarion Hampton, 19 carries for 70 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. Kind of, but did get into the end zone, did catch 6 passes.
Yeah, that was
59 yards. And the biggest news story is Najee Harris tore his Achilles. I don't know if that's official in that yet, but we all saw it happen. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. So now Marion Hampton is going to be locked and loaded into a monster workload every single game going forward. 25 touches in this one against Denver's defense. Even if you don't think he's that great of a talent, you're talking about a ton of touches and one of the best offenses in the league. I think dynasty drafters are going to end up being right here.
And I think we will too. And there was moments of trepidation. We're like, oh no, what's going on here? Is Najee going to start? And listen, I hate that Najee got hurt. I never want anybody to get hurt, right? But now, I mean, it's Haskins is the only guy behind him, really. I mean, they're so Hampton's the dude now. I mean, there's no question about that. And they've got the Giants this week. The Giants defense not great. So Hampton is going to end up being a weekly starter. Let's hope that volume continues. I mean, 25 touches maybe is not going to be something he sustains every week. But, if we get into that 18 touch range every week, if that's the floor, we're feeling pretty good about Omarion Hampton. And like you said, he doesn't do anything spectacularly. He's not flashy, but he got the job done this week. And now there are no real significant contenders for carries in this backfield. So, again, we hate that Najee got hurt, and we hope that he can come back next season. He's one of many guys. This weekend, the injury bug struck all over the place, and unfortunately, Najee was one of them.
Again, now, according to ADP, it hasn't been close between Judkins and Hampton. Hampton RB7 and Judkins RB20. Are you willing to put Judkins ahead of Hampton, or are you still sticking with the situation?
No, I still like Hampton more. Hampton more.
All right.
Yeah, better offense.
I'm not convinced that Judkins isn't the better player, but the situation is just so much more favorable with the Chargers that I think we have to go there. One more running back I wanted to mention quickly. Cam Skattebo led the Giants in carries, 10 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. Also caught 6 passes for 61 yards on 8 targets. Tyrone Tracy has a shoulder injury, but Skattebo was already out touching Tracy before the injury. This feels like Skattebo's backfield moving forward.
Skattebo to the moon, baby. We absolutely love it. Again, I love his style. Between him and Baker Mayfield, I mean, these guys should have been playing when they were wearing leather helmets, Marcus. I mean, I love these guys. And, Skattebo is a Giant, and I hate the Giants as a Cowboys fan, but, I love this kid. He's so much fun to watch. And, yeah, that's his backfield now. So, and I've got a stat that we're going to talk about a little bit later on that's going to shock and awe you. But this is a kid now who could potentially be the featured back for the Giants the rest of the season. Now, their offense is not any good. How the hell you only get Malik Neighbors, one target? Brian Dable should be fired for that automatically. But
this is one of the things I wanted to ask you, though, Fabs, because it does seem like we're getting very close to Jackson's Dart starting. And I think that's a good thing for Skattebo, just because this offense needs some more juice, and you can just feel it with Russell Wilson. He's such a drag on everything that's happening on offense right now. I actually think now is the time to buy Skattebo, because once Dart comes in, it's going to be sloppy. There's going to be turnovers, but I think you're just going to see more juice in this offense. I would go out and get him now, because once we get to middle October, it's going to look very different.
What's the cost, though, Marcus? Because the cost is going to be high right now.
I mean, he's being drafted as RB 36. I'm going to assume it's much higher than that. It's probably going to be closer to that RB 24, 23 range. I would be willing to pay that. Like, I think I would give up Chuba Hubbard, who's RB 21 for Skattebo, somewhere in that range.
Right. I think it's going to be, I would love to get him. I think anybody who's got Skattebo right now is going to be looking for a first round pick. That's just my opinion.
And that feels a little rich,
but he's a young guy. The Giants offense needs playmakers, And if somebody's out there, they're selling high on him right now. They're definitely selling high on him right now. So, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Caleb Johnson was a first-round dynasty pick. Like, so, and he didn't even play. And so, I mean, like, that somebody's going to want a first for Skattebo.
All right, let's talk about some young receivers that did not perform particularly well in week 3. We'll also talk about a rookie running back that we are a little bit concerned about. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. And with football officially back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. I've been playing on Prize Picks for a while now, and it's such a fun way to stay locked into the NFL season, especially when your team's not very good, like my Cowboys aren't very good. So Prize Picks gives me another way to follow the game that I love. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, it is my favorite way to follow the games. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Fellas, before we get to some young receivers, I do want to talk about Ashton Jeanty a little bit. This was a disaster of a game for the Raiders. They got behind early. Geno Smith threw 3 touchdowns, a lot of it in garbage time. But Ashton Jeanty, 17 carries for 63 yards, averaging 3.7 yards per carry. Not really involved in the passing game at all. No targets in this one. How concerned are you about Jeanty?
It's 3 games, but I got to be honest with you. I am concerned based on where he was drafted. I mean, this was the number 1 overall pick in rookie only, and he was right up there in startups. I mean, he's the running back 32 right now. And remember that I told you I had a stat? Skattebo, Hampton, Dylan Sampson, Quinshon Judkins, and Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt all have more points than Ashton Jeanty. All the running backs, the first-year running backs. And believe it or not, but after 3 weeks, Alexander Madison actually had more fantasy points last year for the Raiders than Ashton Jeanty. Like, it freaks me out, man. Like, I don't like that he's not being utilized as a pass catcher, even though they were getting smoked. And then he used him at all. Like, in fantasy, we were sold the bill of goods with Ashton Jeanty that he is a dual threat guy. He's the next Alvin Kamara. They're not using him as a pass catcher, which is a problem. And his yards per carry average is a problem. Now you got the Bears coming up next. See, I had to wear Walter Payton after they smoked the Cowboys, which, listen, right at this point, I'm happy the Cowboys lose because Jerry. Anyways, no, Marcus gets mad at me when I do that. Right. So ahead. The Bears are not a good defense. Okay. I mean, yesterday they looked good. The Cowboys didn't have CeeDee Lamb for most of the game. And Javonte Williams still was fine, except for that weird fumble takeaway that he had. It ain't like I can take him out of my lineup, Marcus, for the most part. But this is not a good start to his season. And if this continues, you're going to keep hearing people say, like I heard Ryan Clark say something about Jeanty just not being special and the Raiders should not have drafted him as high. Okay, hindsight's 2020 there, Ryan, but he ain't wrong based on the first 3 games. It has not looked good for Ashton Jeanty at all.
I think some of it is, it's a new offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly. It's a new blocking scheme. They're still trying to figure out their tackle situation, which has been a disaster. That's why from a team building, like from a real life NFL perspective, you don't draft a running back at 6 when you're not close to being a playoff contender. You can do it as like the final piece, right? But this Raiders team was drafting at 6 for a reason last year, right? So better days are coming. It's clear that Jeanty is still getting used to the speed of the NFL. But if you drafted like Jeanty this year thinking you were getting Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs production, it's just not going to happen. Like this offense isn't ready for that. The blocking isn't that good. It's going to take some time. I still love Jeanty from a long-term perspective. And outside of Gibbs and Bijan, those are the only 2 running backs I'm taking over Jeanty. it's going to be a slog this year, Fabs.
We are, and I am guilty of this too. What have you done for me lately? And that's the attitude. And right now, I mean, if you got Brian Thomas Jr., you're freaking losing your mind. It's only been 3 games, although I do have some stats that scare me a little bit when it comes to BTJ. I'm not getting nuts yet. It's 3 games into his career. It's 3 games, but that doesn't appease the folks out there who drafted him and are 0-3 because they drafted a guy super high who has done bupkis so far this season.
Nice. Dick Buckus, little Paris reference. There you go. Let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about Marvin Harrison Jr., who had another rough game, 3 for 44. Dude. He had a long pass that was dropped. I mean, he was wide open, probably would have gained 60-ish yards on it. It's been a struggle for Marvin Harrison as a rookie, and then here through the season, 10 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown through the first 3 games. Being drafted as wide receiver 14. I have him in a ton of my dynasty leagues, and I'm starting to get nervous.
Yeah, me too. I have him in one of my dynasty leagues, and I drafted him over Jaden Daniels. Stupid, right? Hindsight again, 2020. Dude, listen, there's 10-year-old kids who could have caught that pass. He was wide open. There was not a defender anywhere near him. And then he dropped another one in the end zone that an NFL receiver should catch. It's scary. His pace right now is worse than he was as a rookie.
I know.
And then when you hear Kyler Murray, he didn't say it after the game, but before the game said, hey, sometimes he's going to get this many targets. Sometimes he's not going to get as many targets. I don't know that Kyler trusts him. And how can you trust a guy when he's wide freaking open and he drops the damn ball like that? That was a horrible drop. And now you're going to hear that talked about all week until he remedies that. And leading up into they play on Thursday night against Seattle. Seattle's defense is not bad.
No.
So, yeah. So Marvin Harrison Jr., like I was hoping for the next step. And in week 1, I'm like, here we go. Okay. All right. There you go. There you go, MHA. Let's do it. And the last 2 weeks have been lousy. And I mean, he's not even on pace for 100 targets right now, Marcus. Like that's not alpha, man. So I'm a little worried about Marvin Harrison Jr.
I mean, he's going to be locked and loaded as the wide receiver 1 in Arizona. But I guess what I'm more concerned about is what's the upside here? And the guys that are being drafted around him, like, I'll give you an example. Emeka Egbuka right now, who's being drafted below him, wide receiver 18. If I had Marvin Harrison Jr. and I could flip him for Emeka.
Yep. 100%.
I do it
right now. I wouldn't even think twice.
And that's where this thing gets really weird, as this was a guy that was, deemed a generational talent, coming out of Ohio State. And now we're looking at him as like, okay, I feel okay with him being my wide receiver 2. Okay. But not there's all those other receivers at Ohio State, whether it's JSN and Emeka Egbuka, they're all outperforming him. It feels very, very weird. We should mention just really quickly, Lab McConkey, who had another kind of down game, 4 for 41 on 7 targets. On the year, Fabs, 15 catches for 163 yards, 0 touchdowns. He's averaging under 11 yards a catch. I know we talked about some regression here, but I didn't expect him to become this inefficient, right? Under 11 yards a catch, and to see this few of targets. I thought for sure he was going to be locked into 8-9 targets every single week, and it's not happening.
I mean, listen, I don't want to say I told you so, but when they signed Keenan Allen, I was like, you know how many shares of Lab McConkey I have right now? Like in any league, I have none. None.
That was part of it, right?
Too high.
Well, that was part of it. But the other
too high.
The other issue is, I don't think people anticipated Quinton Johnston becoming.
Yeah, he's been very good. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, he's not an alpha number 1 receiver, but he had 10 targets in this game to Lad McConkey's 7.
Mm-hmm.
He caught 6 passes for 89 yards. He's got 240 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in the first 3 games. And if you didn't watch it all last year and you just watching for the first 3 games this year, it's not close as to who's been the better player.
Lad is the 3rd best fantasy receiver in LA right now. I mean, it's not close. Keenan Allen's on pace for over 300 points. And so is Johnston. And Johnston, we killed him.
I know.
He can't catch the ball. He's got butterfingers. And listen, it was all deserved. He was bad last year. Like he had some flashes, but then he was dropping balls. And I'm like, okay, another TCU guy is going to come in the league and it's not going to happen. He's looked great in the first 3 weeks. Now, listen, when I said I didn't like Ladd this year, it was because he was getting drafted too high. Not in a million years did I think that Keenan Allen would be on pace for 300 fantasy points after 3 weeks, or that Quinton Johnson would be on pace for 300 fantasy points after 3 weeks. I didn't think that at all. But right now, look at McConkey's pace, 924 yards. He hasn't scored a touchdown. So that's why,
there'll be some positive regression there, without a doubt.
You got to tap the brakes. You're getting too crazy with him as a top 10 player at wide receiver. But even me, I didn't think this was going to happen. I will say this right now, in redrafts, I'm ranking Keenan Allen and Quinton Johnson ahead of Ladd McConkey moving forward until McConkey deserves to be ranked ahead of those guys.
McConkey's still the most valuable dynasty asset, just to be clear. That's not changing.
Well, yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, we push back on the idea of him being like wide receiver 10, wide receiver 11 all offseason. I think he's more down in the wide receiver 19, wide receiver 20 range, like down to where Xavier Worthy and some of those guys are at. But this talk of him being a top 10 dynasty receiver, I think it's pretty much over.
It was crazy and people were talking about analytics and how every single analytic and it all was great for Ladd McConkey. Sometimes that stuff does not mirror what's going to happen in the future. And right now, Ladd McConkey, while you're still starting him, is really hurting you. And he's one of many players, especially at wide receiver, who after 3 weeks have been colossal busts.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about some of those guys.
Yeah. Let's talk about some receivers that we might be panicking on. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Mazda, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward is Caleb Williams. I thought he looked fantastic against the Cowboys defense. I know it was against Dallas, but some of the throws that he made were absolutely incredible. He gave that Chicago Bears offense some life. And now we're kind of excited about the direction of the Bears moving forward. And that's what keeps Bears fans and Dynasty fans moving forward. Just an outstanding performance by the second-year quarterback from USC. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, like player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in as the live action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team, like our Cowboys, which is not a lot of fun to watch, or you're keeping an eye on your Dynasty team. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add just a little bit more energy and juice to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. The NFL season is finally here. So for your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL Podcast. Tyler the Madman Rowland gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, let's do some panic meter here, Fabs. Let's talk about a couple guys that we are maybe a little bit nervous about. I want to start with Brian Thomas Jr. on this theme of year two receivers. 2 catches for 55 yards, including a 46-yard reception on Sunday. But so far through 3 games, 7 catches, 115 yards, 0 touchdowns. How concerned are you?
As those of us from the Northeast would say, I'm wicked concerned about Brian Thomas Jr. Listen to this. His catch rate is 28%, Marcus. He's got a 28% catch rate. His receiving EPA, if you don't know what that is, it's expected points added, is minus 13.8. Last year, his catch rate was 65%, and his EPA was plus 43.5. He has gone backwards in a big way. And I talked about this last week when Matt was on the show with us. He was significantly better when Mac Jones was the quarterback. He averaged 5 more points per game with Mac Jones compared to Trevor Lawrence. He averaged around 14 points per game with Trevor Lawrence. And hell, at this point, I'll take that because he's been dreadful. I don't know what the disconnect is. And I got to be honest with you. Outside of Travis Etienne and Brenton Strange had a good game yesterday, I don't know what the hell to do with the Jaguars offense, okay? Because Travis Hunter is looking like a colossal bust in fantasy. He played a lot of snaps on defense yesterday. And this was the problem. And you know what? I bought into it. Oh, he's a unicorn, and I want to have a little bit of that. And it's not like I have a ton of shares of him, but where I do, I'm having buyer's remorse right now because he's not getting opportunities as a wide receiver. And when he does, there's not being made much of it in terms of fantasy production. And he's playing defense. I know their defensive backfield's a little bit banged up. This is bad. This is bad. Brian Thomas Jr. and when De'Ami Brown, and he got banged up, when De'Ami Brown is like the best fantasy option there at wide receiver, I'm like, what is going on, man? I'm very concerned about Brian Thomas.
I'm concerned about the pass catchers in Jacksonville because they are all in their own heads. They're dropping passes. Parker Washington had an awful, awful drop yesterday. To me, Brian Thomas Jr. just seems like he's overthinking things a little bit. Now, maybe you get to win. You're 2-1. Maybe things will shake off a little bit for him. I will say Houston's defense is really good. They've got pass rushers and some really good corners. So maybe this was just
I know, but what was the previous week when they played Cincinnati, Marcus? I mean,
I know. He just had a really bad. I think I'm more optimistic about Brian Thomas. Like I'm not panicking here. It's been a rough start. He's just got to get out of his own head. He's too good of a player to be putting up these kind of.
You can't trade him right now because you're going to get pennies on the dollar. You can't. You have to suck it up and hope that things turn around. I will say this, and you know this. I don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. I haven't believed in Trevor Lawrence. He is what he is at this point in his career. I know there was a lot of hype coming on out of college, and listen, I was in on it too. But after a few years, like a guy is what he is, and Trevor Lawrence is not a guy who's worth all the money they're paying him right now. And the offense is sputtering. Legitimately, like Travis Etienne's the only thing that they have right now in Jacksonville that we feel like we can trust, and we didn't feel that way 4 weeks ago.
Do you like Lawrence or Stroud better right now? Because I think I like Lawrence still.
Brother, I don't want either one of them.
Yeah.
I know. Give me Marcus Mariota for crying out loud. Okay, that's a little crazy. But no, I don't want either one of them right now. I have no faith in either one. And Stroud's another thing. Maybe Stroud's rookie year was the anomaly, the outlier, because since then he's been lousy. And I know the offensive line has got problems. I totally get that. But I mean, we're talking about a guy who, started the majority of the games last year, has played 3 games this year, and he has not made a fantasy impact at all.
Let's do another player, Drake London. He had 5 catches for 55 yards against the Panthers in a blowout loss, 30-0.
How do you get slaughtered like that by Carolina? And Atlanta's defense was one of my favorite streamers this week. And that did not work out at all. Seattle did. That was phenomenal. But holy cow, Marcus.
I'm not worried about Drake London because, again, 5 catches for 55 yards. He's been dealing with an injury. Like, he pretty clearly got hurt in week 1. He was a decoy in week 2. I think I'm more worried about Atlanta's offense as a whole. I thought Penix was going to be a lot better than what he was.
He is deer in the headlights, bro. Give me Kirk Cousins back. I'm sorry, man. It's the same thing in Minnesota. Like when my Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson shares were going to hell, I'm like, give me, please, Carson Wentz. And guess what? Hawkinson went up. And Jefferson, it's going to be better with Carson Wentz. I promise you right now, it was better yesterday. And now, give me Kirk Cousins back. I don't care. My Drake London shares are killing me right now. Like, look, I mean, his catch rate is 59% right now. His receiving EPA is minus 7.7. His catch rate was over 60% last year, and his EPA was plus 34.5. So everything's going down. Penix doesn't look good. Penix does not look good at all. And I was with you too. I was like, yeah, I mean, he's in a situation where he could be a very good quarterback. And I understand, again, instant gratification. We're not getting it with these guys. But I got to be honest with you. I want Kirk Cousins back under center for Atlanta. And if Penix keeps playing like this, it's going to happen.
We'll see. I mean, it's been really rough. We know that Caleb McGarry, the right tackle that's protecting Michael Penix's blind side, he's out for the year. The offensive line has not been as good as anticipated. I'm not super worried about Drake London, but I think that I thought there was a chance he could finish as like a top 5, top 6 receiver
Me
this
too.
year. It's not
He
happening.
was great last year. No. He was what, our wide receiver 5 last year?
Yeah, it's not happening this year.
It's bad. Isn't it crazy that in fantasy we want the backup quarterbacks? Because we're like we are pining for Jackson Dart in New York. I wanted Carson Wentz in Minnesota. Now I want Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, and we all feel more comfortable with the ancillary assets around them when the backup quarterbacks are going to play.
All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Follow the show on YouTube. Get the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher, and we'll see you guys right back here tomorrow.